Welcome into another edition of Where the 99 Lead. It's a presentation of the University of Pikeville, brought to you by the University of Pikeville. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host, joined by Executive Vice President at the University of Pikeville and President-elect. He'll take over July 1 at the university. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce your President-elect at the University of Pikeville, James Hurley. Welcome in.
Thanks, Andrew. It's good to be here.
Always great. And, of course, we're coming off a national tournament selection. The mood is great at the University of Pikeville. It never seems to change a lot, but we're coming off a 2011 national championship. We remember those days, and our Bears, again, heading to the national tournament. And I was taking a look at the Kansas City Star newspaper, and they're excited that the University of Pikeville is back in the national tournament as well.
Well, you remember the last trip was a memorable one, and one that will be very difficult to duplicate because it was the first time.
Sure.
A first national championship is always hard to duplicate, but we're excited. We felt like we made a lot of friends out in Kansas City. For whatever reason, the local fans really took an interest to our team. I think a lot of it had to do with the 90-pound Trevor Setti and his shaggy hair, and
Sure.
Of course the kids played so hard, and this team's very similar. Of course, we have a different path this year. We're seeded. We will no longer be the underdog and
Right.
the Cinderella team, so we're excited, and it's a good time to be a Bear.
I think it goes to the quality of individuals surrounding the University of Pikeville program as well, and that starts at your coach. Kelly Wells, just a great individual, and in interviews, I think reporters can see that. I think fans can see that. And it trickles down through every part of the program. This is a class program. It's one that we can be proud of. And I think sometimes we take it for granted, and we need to bring that to the forefront. This is a face, not the face of the University of Pikeville, but a face. And I think the basketball program, it really is a face for the entire university, because that's the quality of students we have all over campus.
Absolutely, and I agree 100%. Kelly Wells is a great face for us to have at the University of Pikeville, and he's a great ambassador for the game of basketball. The NAI has recognized that. This past weekend, he and Elisha Justice were recognized at the Christian Fellowship Athletic Hall of Fame banquet, and so we're very excited about that. And they did a great job representing not only the university but the entire community. So it speaks a lot of Coach Wells and his character, and how much diversity and adversity he and his family and the entire team have overcome this year.
Absolutely. Overcoming it, and overcoming with class. James Hurley, President-elect at the University of Pikeville. We talk basketball because that's what's on folks' minds right now, but also when classes began in January, you celebrated another record enrollment. The retention of students, tremendous. Transfer students, it's increased. What is it about the University of Pikeville that is appealing to a greater number of students, and students are coming back to the University of Pikeville or choosing the University of Pikeville?
I think it's all about community. I think it's about the university community. I think it's about the community of Pikeville. I think it's about the Pike County community and the Appalachian community. And I think a lot of individuals, young people, have recognized that this is a destination institution. It's no longer a second or third or fourth option. We truly are becoming a first option for many of the students that choose to attend the university. Our faculty and staff have really focused on retention and what retention efforts can be put into place to recognize students that are going through some adversity or some struggles, and we try to capture those struggles. Everybody will encounter some bumps in the road. You've
Sure.
encountered them, I've encountered them, and what's important is that we help our students navigate those bumps and minimize those number of bumps. And so we use the word bump quite a bit with freshmen, because truly that's what you're doing.
Sure.
You're trying to minimize those opportunities, or I'm sorry, the not opportunities, but the possibilities of students making mistakes or creating some concerns for themselves early. So we're excited about what's going on. Retention's important because they can't persist if we can't retain them early on. So that's very important.
And producing graduates. You don't produce graduates unless you have retention. Governor Beshear recently announced a collaboration between the University of Pikeville, the Pritchard Committee for Excellence and Morehead State. Next fall, you work together with the first Governor's Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership to be held in Eastern Kentucky. Let's talk about that, what it is, and why is that so important to the university?
Yeah, we're very excited about joining the Pritchard Committee and partnering with Morehead State University to embark on this new endeavor. The Pritchard Committee many years ago created a program called SIPL, and basically the SIPL program was put in to incorporate the school systems, parents, site-based councils, and communities, and it was to train parents as school leaders and advocates.
Sure.
And to really learn more about the accountability system, about the inner workings of not only the school system as a whole, but individually each school. And so Governor Beshear has partnered with the Pritchard Committee to create the Governor's Commonwealth for Parental Leadership, and that's multifaceted. The particular program that we're partnering with Morehead State University is to train parents in Appalachia, in East Kentucky, if you will. Parents will go through a 6-day training, and typically 3 2-day sessions will be held at the Jenny Wiley Lodge, so it's neutral somewhere between Morehead and Pikeville, where we can train up to 125 parents that could make a difference in the communities by spreading the good news of each school and collectively school systems.
Morehead State and the University of Pikeville, both serving the students of Eastern Kentucky, and now the Pritchard Committee recognizing that. Is that the first time that we've seen this type of collaboration here in Eastern Kentucky?
Absolutely. It will be the first. And we have several local businessmen. For example, some of our Board of Trustees also serve on the Pritchard Committee, Mr. Jim Booth, Mr. Lynn Parrish, I think Miss Jean Hill. So we have several folks that either serve on their board or they are very interested in the Pritchard Committee and the work that they're doing, not only across the Commonwealth, but in particular East Kentucky. So we're excited about this partnership. We do think that it will make a difference because as higher educational institutions, we need to set the bar and set the tone for those P-12 schools and P-12 systems so we can show a true P-20 collaborative effort.
Why is it important that parents become involved in education?
Well, I mean, it's the obvious. Students that persist and graduate through college are those that have parents that are there actively pushing the students, but actively engaged. Engagement is essential. I being a former principal at both the middle school and high school level, the students that succeeded were the students that had a lot of support. And it doesn't always have to come in form of parents.
Sure.
A single parent can be just as effective.
Right.
Grandparents can be just as effective. So it's really about the network of support that we surround these students with.
It's a parent figure.
Absolutely.
It doesn't necessarily need to be a parent, a typical couple of parents, but single parents, obviously, we've seen some of those, and some of the greatest students that have come out of Eastern Kentucky have come from single parent families, or even from family structures that are led by grandparents or even another close relative, someone that needs to be engaged.
Absolutely.
And that's what this is all about.
Absolutely. Well, and one alarming statistic, and it's not alarming to me because I hate the term dysfunctional.
Right.
But they coined dysfunctional for the sake of research. And what's dysfunctional, Andrew, about a set of grandparents that very much loves
Sure.
their grandchild and have been put in a place to raise that child, but also a single parent doing the very best he or she can do to raise
Right.
that child. That's what's important. Almost 60% of our students in Kentucky now are being raised by what the University of Wisconsin coins as dysfunctional, which I totally disagree with that terminology.
We don't like the terminology. We use it because that's what's being used from the studies. But what it brings me to see is grandparents, close relatives, single parents trying to break what has been the norm for those students. Students maybe that are the first college graduates trying to break out of what has been the cycle.
Absolutely, and over 50% of our students each year are first-generation students. I'm fortunate enough to be a first-generation student myself, and a lot of our students are poverty students as well.
Sure.
So, again, it goes back to community. It takes all of us. I think the old saying, it takes a village to raise one child, and that's true in every case. Every success story or any successful CEO or leader that you hear about and you listen to their story, it usually starts with one person.
Sure. That's it's so important to break that cycle. And the University of Pikeville involved in that, along with the Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence, Morehead State. Governor Beshear recognizing the importance of parent leadership here in Eastern Kentucky, and we'll get our due. Another important partnership for the University of Pikeville is the Scholar House of Central Appalachia. I know this has been near and dear to your heart. It's been something that you've been very involved with. And along with local leaders, you've visited the Scholar House in Louisville. It's a prime example of something in a metropolitan area. Now, in Central Appalachia, let's talk about the concept first and when Scholar House will open.
Well, we're very excited about the Central Appalachian Scholar House and its location here in Pikeville, Kentucky. Sure. And they could have located this institute anywhere in Appalachia. But we were fortunate that City Manager Donovan Blackburn and County Judge Executive Wayne Rutherford took an active role in collaborating together with the university to attract this entity. And it's much needed. Two of our schools in the region, Andrew, rank among the top 10% for teenage pregnancy rates.
Wow.
And so that's concerning. We're certainly not advocating single parenting or any of that, but we are advocating offering opportunity for these young people to succeed. And we're excited about this opportunity. Of course, the Scholar House, conceptually, it is an educational opportunity with a housing component. A lot of people are seeing this as a housing component with some education,
right.
And that's just not the case. The main theme and focus and goal of the Scholar House is to allow these students to persist and graduate with a 4-year college degree.
Right.
And that's important because, as you know, you and I have talked about this many times, a bachelor degree will attain $1 million more over a work span,
sure.
if you will, of 25 years than a high school diploma. And so that's important. It's important that we confer more bachelor's degrees in East Kentucky, but really all across the state. So we're excited about the opportunity. Of course, a first phase will be 42 units, so 42 single moms or dads will have the opportunity
sure.
to raise their families in this unit.
Something that we talked about just moments ago, single parents breaking a cycle. And what it provides is an opportunity for single parents who, because of situations, they are engaged in such hardships that the education or the housing, they've got to make a choice. And this allows them to be able to get the education first and have somewhere to house their family as well. Obviously, it means a lot to prospective students. You mentioned that we have a couple of schools that are high in the rankings as far as teenage pregnancies go. What type of area will this serve as far as students? Where will they come from?
Well, they will come from East Kentucky, primarily in the first cohort. And our goal is to obviously populate cohort A or cohort 1, if you will, with as many local students, Pike County and the contiguous counties first,
sure.
and then start to expand. Of course, that will involve building a much larger facility or facilities across not only Pike County but the region. The neat part about this program, Andrew, is number one, they use the housing vouchers for their housing, so they don't have to worry about constantly looking for
sure.
a home to raise their families. And I say a home because it truly will be a home. It will not be an apartment. It will not be a house. But we want these students to create a home environment for these young people. The thing that I like so much about this concept, the one component is we will use our early education students, pre-education students, if
sure.
you will, in the daycare unit to help train these young students. And a lot of these students will be obviously pre-K. So instead of sending the student to a daycare that may not have an educational component, our daycare will have an educational component.
Right.
So they're getting a leg up on their kindergarten needs, if you will, educationally. Also, they will receive the Pikeville Promise, which is free tuition at the University of Pikeville. And all they have to do is simply fill out their FAFSA, and they would capture the Pell, the CAP, and the KTG.
Right.
So for more information, if we have any students that are interested, contact Gary Justice in our admissions office, and also Kay Hammond. Kay, the director of the Appalachian Pregnancy Center, has been really involved, and she's been instrumental in helping us garner the statistics and also reach out to some of these young ladies that are interested but also eligible.
Talking with the University of Pikeville President-elect James Hurley on this edition of Where the 99 Lead. A lot of topics to discuss. The new parent leadership group, the Governor's Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership, also the Scholar House. And the Scholar House, a lot of folks may have seen, construction is underway. Downtown Pikeville, just off Hamley Boulevard, and at the foot of the University of Pikeville Hill. On the backside of the hill, traveling Kentucky Avenue, very close to campus. You mentioned Kay Hammond and some of the statistics that had been done. Obviously, there have been studies in place with who will fill the Scholar House. Let's hear about those, and are the numbers there to meet the need now?
Absolutely, and that's a great question and a great point to talk about. We have over 300 potential applicants.
Wow.
Already for 42 spots. And those potential applicants, some have started the process of applying, and some are simply trying to garner as much information about the concept as they can.
Sure.
Which is absolutely fantastic. Another component that the University of Pikeville is doing is, one, we want to make sure that they're safe. And so the University of Pikeville has adopted the Central Scholar House into our security footprint, if you will, for next year, which is very important because we want to make sure we partner with the city police to make sure that all of our environments are safe. And I think we're very blessed here to live in such a great community, a safe community. Also, the IT needs, as you know, for students to meet their educational needs, IT is a big part of it. And so technology has to be at the forefront of everything we do in that building, and it certainly will be. So that's a focus of ours as well, and also a component that the University of Pikeville will be partnering with to ensure these students a very relevant and successful educational opportunity. Again, going back to the statistics, you know, unfortunately in Central Appalachia we have some of the highest teenage pregnancy rates in America.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do. And as you know, teenage pregnancy sometimes correlates with poverty. And we're trying to break these cycles of poverty.
Sure.
And I say cycles because it's not in one community, it's across many communities. And poverty persists in many different shapes, forms, and fashions. So that's what we're trying to do is really focus on breaking these cycles of poverty.
Yeah, not a handout, but a hand up.
Absolutely.
To these students, and trying to break those family cycles that many fall into because of circumstances, and a hand up through the Scholar House. Another building at the lower part of the University of Pikeville campus. Everything old is new again, and the oldest educational building in Pike County, that being the Pikeville Collegiate Training and Academy building. It was in the educational facility in the beginning. Recently, it's been used by the City of Pikeville and the Chamber of Commerce, and I understand it will once again be used for its intended purpose. Of course, the Chamber, the City, they're moving to new locations, new for them, because of continued growth, the need for space, and the Academy building comes back to the university. What's the intended purpose there, and when does that happen?
Well, again, we are all experiencing growth pains.
Sure.
And Donovan Blackburn and I often joke it's better than the alternative of us closing buildings or having to shut down buildings for the lack of growth. So we're excited. Again, it goes back to that partnership. I approached Donovan probably 2.5 years ago after my board chairman, Mr. Terry Dotson. We walked out of the CTC building, and he looked across the way, and there sits the City Hall, the former Pikeville Training Academy building, and we said, you know, Terry said, we need to get that building back. And I took that to heart and approached Donovan and said, is there a way that we someday could possibly get the building back to its rightful owners? And he said, well, who would that be? And I said, well, that's the University of Pikeville.
Sure.
He was joking. And Governor Patton called Judge Rutherford. And so we started to formulate this plan. And it came about. We're very fortunate to both the county government and the city government for allowing us the rights to the building. It's a very long-term lease that allows us now to offer not only programs to grow and expand our programs at the university, but also some community outreach opportunities.
Sure.
Some things that we have in plan. That will become the new Berlin-Coleman College of Business. We're very excited about that. Berlin has been a long-time supporter and trustee of the University of Pikeville. Of course, a very prominent businessman in his day.
Sure.
Just really transforming Pikeville National into what it is today, and what Gene Hill and those folks are doing is just phenomenal. We're excited about the opportunity to expand our business programs. We have conferred more business degrees than any other division or department at the University of Pikeville, so we thought it was very fitting to move the business division down off the hill, if you will,
right,
and create the new College of Business. That will allow us to expand our MBA programs, our Master in Sports Management, and also to create new programs.
Sure.
There's a lot of programs of need. Natural resource management, healthcare management, the hospital and its growth is phenomenal. Well, we have to make sure as a university that we're meeting the needs of Central Appalachia. So that's the plan. Governor Patton will be appointing a dean within the next week to 2 weeks that will lead this initiative and lead this effort forward. But it's something that I really took to heart, and as an alum, it means a lot to see that building back. Also, what's currently the City Hall, Andrew, will serve as our new Board of Trustees room. The Sturgill boardroom will be moved from the Record Memorial Building into that building, and that will allow us more room. Our board has grown over the last few years. We have 42 board members now,
sure,
and so it gives us more a larger room and more opportunity to work collaboratively. And that room will also serve as an educational resource room.
Very good. Talking about the Pikeville Training Academy building on the lower campus of the University of Pikeville. Currently, you may know that as Pikeville City Hall, and a building that has been used in that capacity, along with the Chamber of Commerce. Those offices moving. Do we have a time frame on when that building will be back under the University of Pikeville guidance?
Yeah, we think sometime between May and the 1st of July. I know the city is very diligent about getting out of the building as quickly as possible, but as you spoke of earlier, it's a four-way exchange,
sure,
and many folks are having to move out of different buildings to help accommodate one another. As soon as Lightyear is completely out of that building, the City Hall will then begin the conversion of creating the City Hall at the old Lightyear building, thus allowing us room to move in. So we're the last one. We're patiently standing
sure,
back in the corner waiting our turn. But we also know that all those moving parts, they have to occur first before we can move.
Isn't growth wonderful? And that's what we've got going on. The University of Pikeville, and we look around our region, Pikeville, Pike County, the hospital you mentioned, the University of Pikeville, and there are a lot of areas in Central Appalachia that's just not the case, and we are seeing that here. We're very fortunate, and something we don't take for granted. You were recently in Washington, D.C. as well, and able to attend the annual meeting of the National Association of Independent Colleges and Universities, an important organization that is a national voice of higher education for independent colleges, an opportunity to meet with members of Congress and be an advocate for higher education. The event was called Capital Conversations. Talk about your visit to the nation's capital.
Well, fortunately, I get the opportunity to attend conferences across the country, but unfortunately, sometimes they are in Washington, D.C. And
yes,
as you know, Washington is a mess now.
A lot of red tape there.
Yeah, a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy, and of course, at the forefront of all of our thoughts is federal funding. And so the IQ presidents and some VPs attended Washington to lobby on behalf of our students. Pell Grants are very important to small institutions like the University of Pikeville, but it's equally as important to large universities. When we're there, the national public universities and colleges, they have a conference in Washington, D.C. at a very similar time for a reason.
Right.
And as the president-elect of the institution, it's important that my students and our students understand that they have a president, and Governor Patton certainly does this as well, that will fight for every penny for them. Sure. and the money that they're entitled to. The problem I have with some of our legislators is they use the word Pell and entitlement in the same sentence.
Right.
And at the University of Pikeville, we feel like that Pell's an investment, not an entitlement.
Sure.
And like you said, a hand up, not a handout. And that's exactly what Pell does. If we're truly going to transform the economy in America, it's through education. Sure. You know that, I know that. Some people don't know that. Unfortunately, some of our elected officials don't understand that. And so we're there to let them know just how important it is to each congressman. And what I do is I visit each of our 6 congressmen and then our 2 U.S. senators, and we have statistics from the University of Pikeville, because we literally have a student from, at least one student, but we have many students from each of the 6 congressional districts.
Sure.
So we put before them the amount of money that we receive, both Pell, CAP, and KTG, and how important those programs are. We also take letters from our students, and we will occasionally have a parent to call and let them know just how important their Pell and their state funding is to them as families, but also to them individually as students.
Do our congressmen and senators that represent Central Appalachia, and particularly in Kentucky, do they understand the importance of this, our legislators?
They absolutely do. Hal Rogers, last year, at the same meeting last year, delivered the keynote speech. And he was actually given an award from an advocacy group because of his stance for Pell. He very much fights to protect Pell. He understands its importance. Of course, he has one of the most impoverished regions, if you will, in the country. And so he very much understands that Pell is not an entitlement, that it is an opportunity for young people. Our senators, I think they very much support Pell and protecting Pell and other forms of state and federal grant money. We had a wonderful conversation with Andy Barr, and Andy Barr is 100% in support of the IQ system, and he believes that it takes both large and small institutions across the state to raise our attainment levels. Sure. And he's exactly right. So we are very lucky, in particular in the 5th and 6th congressional districts, because most of our students come from those 2 districts. I think all of our congressmen and senators understand the importance.
It is important, and not a handout, but simply a hand up. And if we're ever going to change America or change Central Appalachia, it does begin with higher education. That's what the University of Pikeville is all about. Talking with President-elect James Hurley at the University of Pikeville on this edition of Where the 99 Lead. And James, do you have a final comment before we go?
No, it's an exciting week, and we hope that everyone will follow the Bears, hopefully for another repeat title run, or I shouldn't say repeat, but another title run here in 2013. And Governor and I will be heading out late. I think you're heading out late tomorrow to Kansas City, so we're excited about that. But also our cheerleading team just captured the Mid-South Conference cheer championship. We just hired a new female coach to lead the Lady Bears next year in basketball. So things are very exciting. It's an exciting time to be a Bear.
No doubt about it. In the athletics programs, of course, and in the classroom at the University of Pikeville, continued record enrollment. We talk about the Scholar House. We talk about the Parent Leadership Conference, and our President-elect James Hurley takes over July 1st, and we'll look forward to that. And we'll talk again before then, but always great to have you on Where the 99 Lead.
Thank you, Andrew.
James Hurley, President-elect at the University of Pikeville, our guest on this edition of Where the 99 Lead, brought to you by the University of Pikeville, the leading university of Central Appalachia.